Hello, my name is Ryan, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're all having another amazing day. I know I am. And today, we're going over part 3 in our series and going over Battle Cores TCG Set 2's monster cards. Before we get into the actual video, I have some quick things to say. The obvious stuff like check out the description, there's always important stuff down there. Also like, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff. You already know what to do, you already know how to do it, so please do it. And yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the first card we have here, being Bobble Knight. Bobble Knight is a price 4, 3/4 Earth Insect type monster with the effect Victory, gain 1 point, and Survival. So let's start off at the top. It's price 4, so it is definitely more of an expensive card. So this is going to be something that you're going to have to wait until at least turn 4, typically, to be able to actually play. So it is going to take a little bit of time, which is a little unfortunate, but that is alright. And its stats are 3/4, which are about average for a price 4. It is more defensively leaning, not only with the stats, but with, as we'll see, with the effect as well. But yeah. And then the typing, it is Earth Insect type. The Earth typing is the main thing to focus on because Insect does not really have a whole lot to discuss. This is, fun fact, the first Insect type card released. So that's fun, but also because of that, there's not a whole lot of support to really discuss. And then Earth means that you're most likely going to be running this in a Mountain of Giants deck, but you could theoretically run it in whatever you want. It's totally up to you. But because of how the meta is for especially the first 2 sets where it's all very field card oriented, that's typically the kind of decks that you're going to be running, are strategies focused around a specific elemental typing and their respective field card. Let's go ahead and get into the effect. So Victory, gain 1 point. Victory is one of the keywords that describes when this text in the parentheses next to it happens. So in this case, Victory means that whenever this card attacks a monster and discards it, takes it out, this happens. So in this case, it is gaining a point. That is very useful. If you have seen almost any of my videos, you should know by now the importance of effects that mess with points. So in this case, it's the effect that's directly giving you points, but also effects that reduce the amount of points spent by affecting the price of cards also fall into this category. They are incredibly powerful and very, very good in this card game, just because of how the game is designed and whatnot. So this is a good effect. It is not anything crazy, but it is very, very solid. And then the next part is Survival. Survival is defensive ability. That basically just means that if this card's armor stat, so this 4 right here, were to be reduced below 1, which would normally take out the card, what Survival says is instead of going below 1, it is reduced to 1 instead, and then you lose Survival. So it's like a one-time guaranteed, I'm going to survive that hit. So it guarantees that this card will take 1 more attack to take out, pretty much no matter what. So that is an incredibly useful defensive ability, especially with that very solid 4 armor, being a really good armor to have if you're trying to be defensive and stay on the board for a longer period of time. And because this thing does not have active or speed or anything to allow it to immediately attack, and it has that victory effect, so it really wants to be attacking, it needs that survivability to be able to last until the next turn, so it can swing in with that big ol' 3 power and hopefully take something out and gain you some points. There is a slight downside to this point gaining effect, and that is the fact that it is on a victory effect. So that does inherently make the card a little bit slow, as opposed to something like, for example, Super Potato, which can pretty much immediately get you value by getting you points during the main phase and when the card is summoned. Whereas with this card, not only is it not during the main phase, it's during the battle phase, so you have less of your turn to actually spend the points, but also it's not even the turn that's summoned because it doesn't have active, so you'd have to wait until the next turn to be able to take something out to activate that victory effect. So it is slower, definitely, but it's still really good because it's still gaining you points either way. It may be slower and it may be a little bit harder to pull off, but it has stuff going for it to help it pull that off. And biggest among them being that Earth typing, allowing you to use it with Mountain of the Giants. Mountain of the Giants is going to bump up its stats by +1/+2, turning this card into a 4/6, which is massive, but also giving it active, so it will be able to immediately attack and potentially immediately get you an extra point. So that is really, really valuable. Bubble Knight is not anything crazy or anything super flashy. It is a very honest and straightforward card, I would say. But in spite of that, just as a bit of a biased opinion, it's still one of my favorite cards. I love this card. It may not be anything crazy, but I like the card. And on to the next one that we're going over in this video, and that is Frogleon. Frogleon is a price 1, 0/1, water alien type monster with the effect Startup, so when this card is summoned, search one water beast type monster from deck or ground zone. Alright, so start at the top. Price 1, 0/1. So those stats are about average for a price 1. Nothing really, mind-blowing about that. Water alien typing. The water typing is significantly better in set 2 because of Life Rain, giving it some far better synergy. And the alien typing is phenomenal because of the alien engine. And this card actually functions very well with the alien engine, which I'll go over in a little bit. But that start effect, it should look familiar if you're familiar with this game. This card should be very, very familiar. It should definitely remind you of a card called Wuggletez. Wuggletez is a price 1, 0/1, light alien type that has a very similar start effect that allows you to search an alien type monster from deck or ground zone. So this is a very, very similar card. It's just sadly kind of worse. And that's for a couple reasons. For one, its search target is significantly more specific. With Wuggletez, you're able to search out any alien type out there. As long as it has that alien typing, you're good. It's able to search it out. This specifically can only search out water and beast types, which is a very small collection of cards in set 2. There's not a whole lot of options to search out, and not a whole lot of really great options. And so it is limited, and also arguably one of the, well, I wouldn't say a bigger downside, but another one of the big downsides in comparison to Wuggletez is that it itself, though it is a water type, it is not a beast type, and so it cannot search itself out. Whereas Wuggletez, being an alien type and searching alien types, it can search itself out just fine, and so you're able to get to multiple copies of Wuggletez if you so please. It is the crux of the whole alien engine. It's the thing that the alien engine, it's the card that allows the alien engine to function. Now, I'm not going into detail on what exactly the alien engine is or exactly how it works in a whole lot of detail at all, but that's because I have other videos doing that, and I will have more videos in the future doing so as well. So, I'm not going over in this video. Check out other videos, it's out there, and wait for the future, more are coming if you want to hear about the alien engine. But because it is an alien type, it actually functions well with the alien engine if you're specifically trying to run a, let's say, a beast type oriented Life Rain deck with the alien engine in it. That's probably the best place to run a Frogleon in, because you can easily switch out. For example, if you know some of the typical combo strings that the alien engine performs, it can be very easy to play a Wuggletez, and instead of searching out another Wuggletez, you can search out something like a Frogleon and play it, and then search out one of your water beast types, and then still be able to perform the alien engine. So, there's definitely something to this. But anyway, there's not a whole lot else to say about it. It is kind of just a worse Wuggletez, and specifically for Water and Beast type monsters, but in any strategy that is focusing on Water Beast types, it's definitely a card worth considering just as a generic cheap searcher. It's very, very valuable to allow you to more consistently and reliably get to the specific cards that you're trying to get to. But anyway, so that's Frogleon. That's about all I have to say about it. The next card is Deep Worm. Deep Worm is a price 4, 3/4 Earth Beast type monster with the effect Ender, draw 2 cards. Alright, so starting off at the top, price 4, 3/4, same exact price and stats as Bobble Knight, so the same exact things I have to say about that apply here. Earth Beast typing, same things with Bobble Knight for the Earth typing, but that Beast typing is better than Insect as of set 2. Beast type has significantly more support and a lot more going for it than the Insect type, but it also isn't anything really mind-blowing, and so you mainly are just playing this because it is an Earth type monster. Let's get to the effect, Ender. So when this card is discarded, that's what this keyword means. Ender, draw 2 cards. You know, something I didn't really realize until I was preparing to make this video is that I have very, very, very few cards made that just straight up draw you cards. And so this card is actually fairly unique in that because it's one of the very, very few cards that actually just straight up draws you cards. Now it is on an Ender effect, and so it is a little bit challenging to activate because the card needs to be discarded to get it, but it still straight up just draws you cards, and that's pretty cool. That's something worth mentioning. You're mainly going to be running this in a Mountain of the Giants deck, because there's not a whole lot of other strategies that you're really itching to throw Deep Worm in. And that's about it. There's not really a whole lot else to say about it. It's a very simple, straightforward card. But yeah, that's Deep Worm for you. Yeah. The next card is Energy Rover. Energy Rover is a price 2, 0/2 Plasma Robot type monster with the effect Ender, quick summon 1 Thunderstorm. Starting at the top, price 2, the most common price for cards to have. It's a very simple type or price. It's probably the highest price card that I would still consider cheap. So it's not very expensive. Price 2, 0/2, so those stats are underwhelming for the price, which is definitely a downside. And it's a Plasma Robot type. The Plasma type works primarily with Thunderstorm decks. Thunderstorm decks are not anything too crazy or super, well, at least from my testing, they didn't seem super powerful, but I also only just recently realized something that might make them better. And so I'm excited to test that out, but I'll save that for a moment. The robot typing, not really a whole lot to say about it. The only reason why the robot typing would be of importance is if you feel like running something like Superior Construction, which is a boost card that gives +1/+1 to robot type monsters. Is that super worth it? I'm not entirely sold on it, but it's there if you want it. Let's get on to the Ender effect. Ender, so like we discussed with Deep Worm, when this card is discarded, quick summon, which means to put on the board to play, ignoring the price of, so you get to play it for free, 1 Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm being the field card specifically for plasma monsters. This card was purely made to be support for Thunderstorm based decks because in set 1 it was the worst field card. And in set 2 it remains to be one of the worst competitively field cards. It may be better than what I'm giving it credit for, but just from my own testing and from what I have personally seen about it, it could be better. We'll just put it like that. It could definitely be better. But this is an incredibly necessary card. Now, on its own, it may not seem like anything crazy, and there's a lot of issues that seem to crop up when you're just looking at it on the surface. But before we get into that, something I forgot to mention about the effect, because it does not mention from where you're quick summoning, it's assumed to be specifically from the deck, so you're not going to be able to throw down copies of Thunderstorm in hand, which is actually not as much of a downside as it could be. And we'll get into that, but first let's talk about some of the downsides of the card. It's incredibly passive. This is by far one of the most passive cards in the game. It's a price 2/0/2. The stats are underwhelming and has 0 power, so it's not even able to attack or do anything like that, and so it kind of just sits there. And unlike some of the other cards that kind of just sit there, you know, stuff like your Wuggletezes and your Frogleons, there's not a whole lot you can really do with this card besides just let it sit there. Because the best case scenario, unlike those other cards that have, for one, startup effects, so you can immediately get some value out of that, but also they're alien monsters, so you can discard them to summon some of the bigger alien legend cards, which are powerful and that gives you value. This card doesn't really have that. It just kind of sits there, and because it's an ender effect, you're just kind of waiting for it to be discarded. You're waiting for either the opponent to attack into it and take it out, or you're attacking into it yourself to take it out. Neither of those feel very good. The fact that you have to rely on either the opponent to do something or for you to take out your own cards just doesn't feel very good. And so for the longest time, this card just, it didn't feel very good to use, but you kind of had to use it because there's nothing else that really fulfilled its use. There's nothing else that could really take its place in Thunderstorm-based decks. And so it was kind of a necessity, even though you really didn't want to have to run it. But then, the combo of Minute Land with this card was realized, and it started seeming significantly better. Now this combo also applies to Deep Worm, just to a far lesser extent, which is why I didn't really mention it there, and I'm only mentioning it now, but it is technically something to be aware of, but it's not a huge focus. So how Minute Land works. Minute Land is a field card. It is a price 0 field card you can just throw down. And how it works is it has an effect that allows you to discard 2 cards of different types from your hand. So 2 different cards pretty much from your hand. And it allows you to then search a field card from the deck. It's just generic. It's a generic card that allows you to search out your other field cards. And it's a really good card at that too. It's very good at its job. The main downside is that you have to discard so much. You have to pour so much card advantage into being able to just search out your field card. So that is a bit of a downside. This card works phenomenally well with Minute Land. Because look at it this way. So you have your Minute Land, it's price 0, so you just throw it down, right? And let's say you have an Energy Rover and some other card in hand. Or at least one other card in hand. You can very easily activate Minute Land's effect to discard the Energy Rover and whatever other card. And the Energy Rover's Ender effect will activate because it's being discarded, allowing you to quick summon a Thunderstorm. And then Minute Land's effect will activate because you discarded the 2 cards, and then it'll allow you to search out another Thunderstorm and put it in your hand. Or some other field card like another Minute Land if you want, but you know, another Thunderstorm for example. And so for 0 points, you're getting 1 Thunderstorm in play, again 0 points for free, and you're searching out another field card of your choice. And this is all very proactive. And so it takes the main issue of Energy Rover's passivity and inability to really do anything or give you the value that it wants, and it allows you to be proactive with your ability to get this value. It allows you to be able to get a ton of value, and not just have to sit around and either waste your own resources in an inefficient way through attacking your own cards, because you'd have to pay 2 points to play the card, and then you'd have to attack into it with something else that can take it out. That's a lot of investment. Whereas with this, it just takes 3 cards in hand, 2 of them specifically being Energy Rover and Minute Land, and that's all it takes to pull this off. So it's far more consistent, far less reliant on the opponent, and you're far more proactive with your expenditures of your resources. And you want to be proactive. That is very important in a game like this. So that little combo makes Energy Rover go from something that you're kind of just sighing and, I guess I'll use it, I guess this is just what I gotta do. And it allows you to make this very proactive and make this a card that you're actually excited to use and want to use, and it significantly bumps up Thunderstorm strategies and makes them so much more usable. So that's something to be aware of, and Energy Rover has quickly gone from one of the cards that I was least excited about to something I'm actually really excited to try out again, now that I'm aware of this little combo, this little interaction. Actually, something I was just made aware of, or that I just thought of just now with Deep Worm, sorry I'm jumping back and forth, but through that Ender effect of drawing 2 cards, it'll allow you to completely refund the cost of Minute Land. Huh. So I could see Deep Worm being a little bit more useful now with Minute Land, because it just refunds the cost of having to discard 2 cards. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so that's Energy Rover. The next card is Ella Sludge. Ella Sludge is a price 2, 1/1 Plasma Slime type monster with Duplicate. Starting from the top, it's a price 2, 1/1. Those are underwhelming stats for a price 2 card. Plasma Slime type. The Plasma typing is alright. It's not anything to write home about. Again, you're mainly running it in Thunderstorm. Slime is completely unsupported, and it's more so just a gimmick. And the Slime's gimmick is the effect Duplicate, which makes up for the lack of stats. What Duplicate does, and if you saw last video, get ready to hear the same thing over again. What Duplicate does is it makes a token copy of the card with Duplicate. So as soon as you play the card, you just get a token copy of it. So you're basically getting 2 for the price of 1. So sure, a price 2, 1/1 is not super impressive, but basically 2 price 1/1s? That's significantly better. That's actually above rate. You're getting more value out of that than what you would typically be able to get out of a single card summon for price to stat ratio. So that actually makes this a quite valuable card. Now it is slow and doesn't really do a whole lot on its own. It's kind of easy to deal with because it is just a 1/1 and it doesn't have active or anything, so you throw it down and it just kind of sits there, which is a little unfortunate, but it's a plasma monster and it's cheap and it's something you can throw into a Thunderstorm deck. You summon it and you get, for 2 points, 2 3/2s. Because if you have a single Thunderstorm in play, that's giving +2/+1 to your plasma monsters, so it's becoming a 3/2, and you get 2 of them. So that's a bit better, we'll say. Anyway, so that's Ella Sludge, and on to the last card, Deep Trotter. So Deep Trotter is a price 2, 1/2 Water Beast type monster with the effect Victory, so when this card takes out something through battle, search 1 field card. Start at the top, it's a price 2, 1/2, so that is average of stats for a price 2 cards you'll get. It's a Water Beast type, which synergies go along, or for synergies, the water type gives you stuff like Life Rain. For the Beast type, synergies go with stuff like I believe it's called Moonpaw, as well as stuff like Call of the Beast and whatnot. And for specifically water and beast type support, you have the previously mentioned Frogleon to search it out, so that's pretty neat. Let's go ahead and get into the effect. I know I already basically discussed, but I'll discuss in a bit more detail. So Victory, so when this card takes out something through battle, you get to search a field card and put it in your hand. And because it does not specify from where, it is assumed to be specifically from the deck and from nowhere else. So you're not going to be able to search something out from the ground zone with this card. This card is kind of similar to Energy Rover in the sense that it's specifically here to help you get to your field cards. It's just a cheap monster that's there to help with that. The main downside is that this card basically does what Energy Rover is trying to do, but significantly worse. For one, it is a victory effect. Now, victory effects are not bad, but the main downside is that it's on a 1/2. It only has 1 power and 2 armor. And it doesn't have active or speed, so it's not able to immediately attack, and so you have to wait until the next turn. And unlike something like Bobble Knight that at least has something like Mountain of the Giants to give it active to make it more immediately threatening, this doesn't have that. Life Rain doesn't give active. It gives +1/+1 and an upkeep effect to gain a health, but that doesn't help it be more offensively threatening, at least not by much. Makes it a 2/3. That's nice. But 3 armor is still not huge. And so it's fairly easy to take out. It's slow because you have to wait until the next turn, and it's a little inconsistent because you have to find a way to be able to attack something with this measly little 1/2 and take it out. You only have 1 power. A lot of cards have more than 1 armor, and so they're not going to be taken out without a lot of work on your part. And for the payoff that you're getting out of it, it's not a lot. You're just searching a field card. Unlike Energy Rover, which immediately puts it in play through quick summoning, this card just searches it. Now, it is more versatile. It searches out any field card, but it's just searching it. It's not putting it in play. It's not doing anything like that. It's not reducing its price. It's just putting a card from deck into your hand. And so the card is just kind of hard to use. And it's a little underwhelming with what it can actually accomplish. The payout to work needed to get the payout ratio, the effort needed to pull this off in comparison to what you're getting out of it is not great. You have to put a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of very specific scenarios to be able to get the payout, and then the payout is not really worth all that effort in my opinion. So unfortunately, this is just kind of an underwhelming card. Now, you still may see play in Life Rain decks because they don't have a whole lot of other options really, but it's definitely not because they want to be running Deep Trotter. It's more so because, like I said, they don't have many better options. And as more cards are released and more sets come out and whatnot, better options are going to be released, and Deep Trotter would just be further and further left behind. So unfortunately, Deep Trotter is a little unfortunate. But it is what it is. Not every card can be a winner. And yeah, so that's Deep Trotter. And that's about it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and found it somewhat entertaining as well as informative and interesting. If you made it to the very end, of course, like, subscribe, comment, do all that YouTube stuff. Check out the description. I already said it, but I'm saying it again. Yeah, be sure to do all that stuff. And also, if you made it to the very end of the video, be sure to go and type in the comments down below which of the 3 field cards that I mentioned, or the 3 primary field cards I mentioned and talked about today, are your favorites between Mountain of the Giants, Thunderstorm, and Life Rain. Which one do you like the most? Or if you want to be a rebel, you can say Minuteland's your favorite field card and go crazy. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope that you all have a blessed day, and fare thee well.